is the sensing capacity of mind. It is the mind's capacity, with a capital M, the mind's capacity to sense, feel, the capital M meaning set in place by the Father in every aspect of creation. Soul is your capacity to recognize God in each and everything. The soul knows that the consciousness of all its brothers is included in its own, as it is included in God. The power of the whole sonship and of its Creator is therefore the soul's own fullness, rendering its creations equally whole and equal in perfection. Its creations, and I'm not reading from the book, its creations are what you could call the affirmation of God that it senses / feels in each and everything, its recognition of God in each and everything as an experience, not an idea, not a thought, not a belief. You might say, confirms creation and extends it thereby. Soul, which is you, never creates separate from God. And I will keep bringing this to your attention because the ego in each of you would like to arrive at a point of having the power of God for divine good reasons so as to be able to do things on your own without asking God about it. And that will never be the experience. Continuing, the ego cannot prevail against a totality which includes God, and any totality must include God. Everything He created is given all His power because it is part of Him and shares His being with Him. Creating is the opposite of loss, as blessing is the opposite of sacrifice. Being must be extended. That is how it retains the knowledge of itself. Soul extends being by confirming God in everything, by being the constant, conscious, I will say the constant living conscious awareness of what God is being, right there and right there and right there and everywhere infinitely. Creation, which God is being, is extended by the confirmation of it that occurs when consciousness recognizes God somewhere. And when you are awake, being itself is the conscious experience of recognizing God everywhere simultaneously, fully, infinitely, gloriously. It doesn't matter that you might not be able to translate this at the moment into your daily experience. The premise must be laid before anything can be built upon it. And that's what is happening right now. Being must be extended. That is how it retains the knowledge of itself. That's how the singularity persists, if I may use that word. The soul, your capacity to feel, recognize God in each and everything, yearns to share its being as its Creator did. It doesn't want to withhold the acknowledgement of it. It wants to express it infinitely. It wants to express the joy of the experience infinitely, and it does it spontaneously. Created by sharing, its will, meaning the soul's will, is to create. It does not wish to contain God, but to extend His being. And it extends it again by sharing it. It is as though the soul is a light bulb that glows brighter and extends in light the joy of the experience of the meaning of God discovered in each and everything forever. It is almost as though it broadcasts it in pulses of illumination. Illumination imbued with joy. Continuing, the extension of God's being is the soul's only function. Its fullness cannot be contained any more than can the fullness of its Creator. Fullness is extension. Now, the ego's whole thought system blocks extension, and thus blocks your only function. You notice it didn't say the soul's only function? It's letting you know that the soul's only function is your only function. Again, you can't project the soul out there along with the Holy Spirit or the ego and talk about it and what it does. None of this means a thing if it doesn't relate to you. If it isn't being brought home to you, that soul is you, that love is you, that mind with a capital M, that is God, is you, that you are the Christ. Again, the ego's whole thought system blocks extension and thus blocks your only function. It therefore blocks your joy. And that is why you perceive yourselves as unfulfilled. Unless you create, you are unfulfilled. Well, how do you neglect to create? By having something else more important than to do than to discover, recognize, and acknowledge God in each and everything. You've got business to attend to. You've got concerns to deal with. You've got problems to solve. You see? Unless you create, you are unfulfilled, but God does not know of unfulfillment, and therefore you must create. You may not know your own creations, but this can no more interfere with their reality than your unawareness of your soul can interfere with its being. In other words, no matter how you define yourself, no matter how limited it is, what you divinely are continues to be what it divinely is, and it continues to fulfill its function. And it does this while you have a preoccupation with a daydream, so to speak, where you're not paying any attention at all to what is going on around you, and you give all of your attention to your imagination. Just like a student looking out the window and daydreaming who doesn't hear what the teacher is saying, doesn't change the fact that the teacher is saying something and the student is actually at his desk in the classroom. Continuing, the kingdom is forever extending because it is in the mind of God. You do not know your joy because you do not know your own self-fullness. Exclude any part of the kingdom from yourself and, surprise, surprise, you are not whole. And that's what you find yourself preoccupied with. Exclude any part of the kingdom from yourself, and you are not whole. Well, how do you exclude the kingdom? What? The kingdom of what? The kingdom of heaven. How do you exclude reality? By giving it a different definition, by calling it the world and universe. A material event in a physical universe. That's how you exclude the kingdom, by refusing to see it for what it really is and giving preference to the definition you've made up about it. A split mind cannot perceive its fullness and needs the miracle of its wholeness to dawn upon it and heal it. This reawakens the wholeness in it and restores it to the kingdom because of its acceptance of wholeness. Okay, now we have another word that can help you to understand the meaning of the word singularity. It's wholeness. Undivided wholeness is singularity. The miracle of the wholeness of mind needs to dawn upon the mind and heal it. This reawakens the wholeness in it. As a thought or an idea? No, as an experience. An experience that you can have in the grocery store or wherever you are, where all of a sudden you are immense. And in the immenseness of what you are, everything about the grocery store is included in you and is part of you, while at the same time being a part of God and being a part of the wholeness of infinite singularity, of infinite being. This reawakens the wholeness in it and restores it to the kingdom because of its acceptance of wholeness. Speaking of the mind that lets the miracle of wholeness dawn on it. The full appreciation of its self-fullness makes selfishness impossible and extension inevitable. Why? Why does it make extension inevitable? Because the experience is so glorious that you can't keep your mouth shut. You can't keep your being shut. Your being pulses with the spontaneous generation of light that is imbued with joy, that is experienced, you might say broadcast, infinitely instantaneously. Continuing, that is why there is perfect peace in the kingdom. Every soul is fulfilling its function, and only complete fulfillment is peace. Peace is the fundamental of the singularity of being. Peace that is not flawed by anything extraneous to it. Now, it doesn't say that is why there will be perfect peace in the kingdom. It doesn't say every soul will fulfill its function. It says that is why there is perfect peace in the kingdom. Every soul is fulfilling its function, and only complete fulfillment is peace. I need to remind you again that the divine one that you are, who's having this little fantasy of not being divine, is fulfilling its function perfectly and infinitely. It's important to understand this because, as I've said before, you're neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. You are at that point and must understand yourself therefrom. If you will accept this statement as an absolute fact, you will abandon any practices you have been engaging in to try to improve yourself and to become equal to something that you aren't yet, to become something more than you are at the moment. Waking up is a matter of abandoning the doubt and the tiny sense of yourself so that you might have available to you the full experience of what you divinely are, that you are at this moment. So this has less to do with learning than it does with a willingness to yield into a greater experience of what you are, which you can yield into because it's already present and fully functioning. You know what? Ultimately, problems are solved by abandoning the attempt to solve them, by abandoning the position of a presence that can solve problems by itself, by virtue of skill it develops. And instead, right in the apparent presence of the problem, desiring to experience what's really going on in its wholeness right now, to experience what you are in your wholeness right now, rather than working out the resolution of all the little mistakes you have made in your mind that have brought about this situation that is a problem for you, so that you might rearrange your beliefs and improve your beliefs and correct all of these little misperceptions, and thereby be free of the problem because you have been skillful on your own. You abandon that whole attempt. You abandon every attempt to reinforce what you think you are, and you say, Holy Spirit, meaning myself with a capital S, Holy Spirit, I desire to experience the wholeness of what I am and the wholeness of what I am being right now, in spite of the fact that I thought I was something else that was far less. I desire to be infilled and illuminated with what I am fully being, divinely speaking, right now. Or even better put, I desire to experience what the Father is being fully of Himself right here where I am. And you invite it in, and you let the desire for the influx of the experience hold more importance, be more paramount to you than the act of defense that you would go through by trying to improve your mind and your beliefs by correcting the beliefs with improved beliefs, and thus manipulating correction of the problem into being by virtue of an act of will on your part and concentration. And focused effort, that afterwards you will be able to look back on and say, I did well. I did well. And all the time, you will never have abandoned the separated sense of existence, because you will have never desired to have the experience of the infinite divine one that you are at this moment, that God is being right there where you are at this moment, in which you are being whole and wholly involved in the joyous extension of it because of the spontaneous joy that is experienced when you've let yourself be your real function. Now, I am aware that these words could be called airy-fairy, but I am conveying to you a feeling that I want you to catch. It's a feeling about reality, and it's also a feeling about what you are. And it's a feeling of what the function of being what you are is, together with the very clear statement that I'm making that right now, you, in spite of what you think you're doing, are engaged in being what you divinely are. Because you are, and because it is going on, you can dare to be curious to experience it and invite the experience in, and give preference to inviting the experience over the preference to be a successful problem solver on your own. Continuing. Insanity. Insanity is forgetting that all there is to the ego is you wearing a mask. and believing that your mask and costume are what you are and determine how you must be. Insanity appears to add to reality. Certainly it appears to add a mask, and it appears to add a costume, doesn't it, that God didn't make. Insanity appears to add to reality, but no one would claim that what it adds is true. Insanity is therefore the non-extension of truth, which blocks joy, because it blocks creation, and thus blocks self-fulfillment. If you're miserable, you're having an insane experience. If you're miserable, it means that you have not been engaged in extending the kingdom. It means you have not been engaged in desiring to be the evidence of love. The unfulfilled must be depressed because their self-fullness is unknown to them. Your creations, and I'm adding the word however, are protected for you because the Holy Spirit who is in your mind knows of them and can bring them into your awareness whenever you will let Him. They are there as part of your own being because your fulfillment includes them. The creations of every Son of God are yours, since every creation belongs to every one, being created for the sonship as a whole. When you have an aha experience in which the divinity of being has registered with you more fully than ever before, and it is transformational in you, you spontaneously radiate the joy of that experience. And it is radiated without reservation. Like light, it moves in every direction endlessly, just because it's not directed specifically here or specifically there. The joy of being radiates to the whole sonship. It is therefore an all-inclusive act, not by design, but by virtue of the nature of joy, which, like the nature of light, expands in all directions, just because. Now this is important. You have not failed to add to the inheritance of the sons of God, and thus have not failed to secure it for yourselves. If it was the will of God to give it to you, He gave it forever. If it was His will that you have it forever, He gave you the means for keeping it, and you have done so. Now, mind you, I want you to continue to feel for the meaning of singularity as I talk about it. What has just been said here is an expression of singularity. Singularity has no ifs, ands, or buts, no maybes, no what ifs. Listen to this. If it was the will of God to give it to you, He gave it forever. If it was His will that you have it forever, He gave you the means for keeping it, and you have done so.